Hey guys, welcome to Grit and Grace. I'm Colton. This is Matthew.
Howdy, yo.
Thank you for listening wherever you are, and thank you for the support. And this time you get to see who we are by watching us. We're doing a live video here. Well, it won't be live.
It's live for us right
Yeah,
now.
it's live for us. And today's episode we'll be discussing grace and how to accept it and give it to yourself. And I had a pretty good lesson in grace today.
What happened?
I almost lost a golf cart off our flatbed today, and thought I was gonna get fired. Thought all kinds of stuff in the back of my head. Have given myself a panic attack, and I call my supervisor, and he's like, "All right, thanks for calling me. I'm glad you did, and I'm gonna call some people, and we're gonna get you some help. Just take it easy, sit in the AC." And give yourself grace. Things happen, and sometimes they're out of your control. And that was very soothing. It was good. And then I actually believed it when people showed up to help. And nothing happened to the actual golf cart. It ended up being completely fine. I still have my job. And everything worked out. And all I ever needed to do was trust the process and trust that my higher power was going to be there for me. And it was without a doubt. But I still had a slight panic attack. Because I thought I was responsible. And really, the most responsible thing I did was make a phone call that was normally very, very hard to make and admit that something happened and it was out of my control.
So when that phone feels like it's 1,000 pounds.
Oh, dude, yeah, it was heavy as shit. I was staring at it for like 5 minutes before I realized that I needed to pick it up and use it. And then I picked it up and used it, and
It all worked out?
all of it worked out. It was beautiful.
So how does this lead into our current life circumstances?
Well, considering I didn't know the word grace until a few months ago, which many of you may agree with or may not agree with. It doesn't matter. I didn't know the definition of it. And then after I had the conversation today with my supervisor, I realized that I give a lot of other people in my life grace without even realizing it.
Mm-hmm.
They'll come to me with problems or situations, and I'll help them with it, and I'll tell them to take it easy, and I always tell them not to be hard on themselves. But for me to take my own advice, that's something new to me.
Okay.
Especially in this period of my life where I choose to be clean and living free. And it was a relief after the entire situation was settled. Everything was back on the truck. I went back to the warehouse. I unloaded, clocked out for the day. And the one thing I wanted to do was cry. I mean, a few tears came out, but I didn't actually cry. And that's what I would have done before. I would have been beating myself up. I would have been hard on myself. I would have criticized everything I did. And this time I actually didn't do that. I took the advice, and I didn't beat myself up. And I even talked about it in fellowship and laughed about it, which I think is quite amazing.
Yeah.
Do you have any what's your experience with grace and giving it to yourself?
Well, I actually talked about it at dinner. So a couple years ago, I was selling cars, and I wrecked 2 cars that were meant to be sold that day. Had a customer show up right before it happened, waved to them from inside the car. And they went to my desk, they sat down, they were getting ready to take possession of the car I was sitting in. And I backed it into the other car that was being delivered about an hour after that. And so I caused, I don't know, like $4,000 or $5,000 worth of damage between two cars. And I when the salesman that was watching this happen from 30, 40 feet in front of me was waving at me going like, I'm thinking, hey buddy, how you doing? Nope. He was giving me a warning. Yeah, I heard all the noise of the vehicles rubbing up against each other, the bumper coming off of one of them, and I got out and had
That had to
to
be pretty scary.
lean into it. Oh yeah, I thought I was on the unemployment line at that point. I figured I was going to be making a call to unemployment, being like, hey, guess what? Yeah, I went into the general manager's office and I told him he needed to come out and take a look at a couple cars. And he was like, what do I need to look at these cars for? I'm like, because you're probably going to be firing me after you see them. And
that'd be my first thought.
I mean, I fully expected that I was losing my job that day. And, I was kicking myself so bad. I was being harder on myself than he ever was in any of it. And walking back in, he was even like, dude, that's actually not that bad. My first couple years in the business, just the same. I did the same thing, and you can look around this room and, every salesman in here, it's happened, or if it hasn't happened, then
they're lying.
I mean,
No.
I mean, pretty much. I mean, it's like it happens to everybody. Somebody's going to ding up something. I mean, you've got, 500 cars on the lot. We're driving them every day, and, here's a piece of paper, go pee in a cup. And it was like, okay, all right, so we're at that point now.
There's a point in time we wouldn't have passed that one.
Yeah. And so, I mean, whatever. I was kicking myself all the way to that appointment to piss in a cup, and all the way back, I'm kicking myself about it. And I had already had the finance manager, the general manager, sales manager, all of them say, dude, you got to give yourself some grace on it. You can't, if we're not that upset about it, why are you that upset about it? I'm like, well, because, I mean, I'm the one that did it,
Taking other people's property personal.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the customers didn't care. They were fine. They picked out a different vehicle or, whatever. And it all worked out really quickly and smoothly, like you said with your boss.
Dude, my supervisor said it happened to him when he was a delivery driver. Well, not the exact same thing, because they didn't have the same vehicle back then.
Sure.
But they had a trailer it had little tiny sidewalls, and he said he had a bump and his went up and over the sidewall. But
yeah,
mine was like, that shit was almost off.
Yeah.
And the other driver they had before me almost did the same exact thing, but he almost drove it off. So
I know I came close to doing that. I was loading a car onto a flatbed, and I'm not the delivery guy. I shouldn't be loading. I'm just a stupid salesman. I shouldn't be loading the car onto a flatbed. About drove it off. Well, partially off, and then partially into the back of the cab of the delivery truck. But in that type of situation, or really anything else where, I mean, we're human, we're going to fuck up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, we're not perfect, and
expecting that things are going to go perfect is probably half of our problem.
Yeah. I mean, that's I hate to call it a failure on our part, but I mean, that is a downfall on our side where we expect ourselves to be perfect. But we're not.
Yeah, that's a high expectation that's unattainable.
Right. Do you hold anybody else to that level where you just expect them to do everything perfectly?
That's a great question. And absolutely not is the answer.
So why do we do that to ourselves?
I wish I had an answer for that. I don't know, to be honest with you.
Well, I'd like to ask the audience, if you're going to be watching this and watch it fully,
Yeah, please feel free to
put a
comment
comment
and
down there.
give us your input.
Yeah. In the comment section, you'll see that the first comment is going to ask for you to, comment on this, because we want to hear your feedback. When has this happened to you? Maybe not the same circumstance. You probably, maybe you weren't a golf cart delivery guy or a car salesman or whatever, but I mean, like, we both worked in kitchens.
Yeah, I would say in the history of businesses, nothing that we do is going to be the first time. It's probably already happened.
Yeah. Yeah, right? I mean, that's a good point. Like you said, your manager said that, it had happened to him. A little bit different circumstances, whatever, but it had happened to him. My general manager, the finance guy, the, sales manager, they all said that it had happened to them. Now, they had been in the business for 20 or 30 years, and they had seen it happen. I know that when I worked in food and beverage, when I worked in the kitchens, most especially things went wrong, whether it was, tossing pizza and your hand goes through the dough.
Oh,
and
man.
It's like,
dude, I had to repair so many fucking pizzas and just like patch it back together and pray that it didn't come apart in the oven.
We would send somebody, the new guy, we would send him for the dough patch kit.
Oh, yeah, we did the same thing.
Yeah, it was great. They'd spend 20 minutes in the cooler looking for a dough patch kit. And like,
give me the dough stretcher.
It's in the stock
like,
room.
What the fuck?
But yeah, no, I mean, or working on the saute line and broken sauce. I mean, like, that stuff happens. It's life. It's not going to be perfect. We're not robots. So, I mean...
Somehow we expect ourselves to operate like them, though. But even robots malfunction. I mean, there is... To say there is no such thing as perfection, and to actually, like, realize it and believe it in your head, that's on a different level. Especially for me. I just like today, I expected things to go a certain way, and they absolutely did not. Shit went sideways.
Yeah.
I should have expected for shit to go sideways. That way I actually had a fucking plan.
But now you did have a plan, and you took one of the tools out of your arsenal for it.
Well, I stared at that plan for a solid 5 minutes before I fucking used it.
Yeah, but you still used it. You still did.
Yes.
Yeah.
You owned up
to it. You leaned into it.
It was a scary phone call, because I thought I was going to be held responsible for all this shit. And he's like, don't even worry about it, man. Just go sit in the AC and relax. And I'm like, relaxing is the last thing I can do.
Yeah, it's like when
you're not the one sitting over here just looking at this thing teeter fucking seesawing on this thing. And I'm like,
Yeah.
But yeah, grace. I mean, there's probably a bunch of instances that I can't even think of right now where I wish I would have known what grace was in order to give it to myself in certain situations instead of expecting perfection.
You know how many times I walked around for days, weeks, hell, even years, fretting over something that I had said, I had done.
Oh my gosh, dude, you ain't lying.
I mean, like, but that's where shame and regret.
Yeah, I used to replay conversations in my head, like, damn, why did I even say that?
Yeah. And
I mean, the grace would have been, hey, people make mistakes. Don't do it again.
Yeah, actually, I said something to somebody the other day, and it wasn't like being an asshole or anything. It was just in general conversation, and they kept apologizing for something, and it was something they didn't even need to apologize for, you know. And I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. It's like,
Yeah,
what are you
that
saying sorry for?
that used to be me.
And so I took a note from someone that told
And
me
then I would
all the
apologize
time.
for apologizing,
So
which is which is some shit right there on its own. But yeah,
an
continue.
apology is worthless without the actions to back it up that are in contrary to,
Yeah,
you know. So like, if I step on someone's foot and apologize for it and then stomp on their foot 3 more times, that apology means nothing.
yeah.
Apologizing for apologizing and then apologizing for that apology again, it's like, I'm wasting my time, I'm wasting your time.
Yeah, I used to say, I'm sorry for saying sorry.
Yeah.
Then they'd be like, you just said it again. I'd be like, yeah, I'm sorry. They're like, what the fuck is, just stop.
My sponsor tells me all the time, you got to learn to stop apologizing, because
Yeah, dude, I would be in the fucking like grocery store getting groceries and accidentally like almost hit somebody, and the first words out of my mouth are "I'm sorry."
I
When
call him and
when
I
it
say, hey, I'm sorry to bother you, but he's like, you're not bothering me, you're doing what you're supposed to be
and
doing.
then somebody told me one time that the proper response that isn't a trauma response is, "Excuse me, I didn't see you there," and I'd be like, well, I guess I have some healing to do.
So what were we just talking about 5 minutes before we started recording?
I have no idea, dude.
Our emotional sobriety.
Oh my
stops
gosh.
At the point where
We start using.
Yep. And so I am, as of, I don't know, right about today, like 11 years old. How about you?
That makes me a 13-year-old.
All right. So Colton here is a 13-year-old, and
Hi,
Matthew's an 11-year-old.
Colton, I'm 13.
Howdy, Matthew. I'm 11.
Yeah.
Because I was about 10 and a half when I first got alcohol poisoning.
So that means we are grown children that are learning how to grow.
Learning how to live.
Well, your God analogy, grow or die.
Yeah, there's that.
So you got to learn how to grow and live.
Yeah, touche. Whoever Shay is. So, all right. Kind of getting off topic, but either way, I think it's a great one. And I'm very curious to hear what our listeners or now our watchers are. Yeah, I know it's kind of creepy to say that.
That sounded weird.
What are some of y'all's experiences? Where have you learned to give yourself grace, or where are you still?
And
learning?
how has it helped you?
Yeah, there you go. How has it helped you? What are you learning? What tidbits can you throw into the comments?
That's pretty much all I got on that. So hopefully you guys have some very good instances and words of inspiration that can help us and many others.
Yeah, that's what this whole thing is about: is experience, strength, hope, helping people. But
knowing that grace is a real thing is important.
It's not just a name.
And it's not just something you give to other people. You have to accept it and give it to yourself as well.
Yeah.
And with that being, I
think we're good.
I think we're good. All right. So this is our first recorded episode of Grit and Grace.
Let us know what y'all think. And it is really...
Yeah, please let us know what you guys think. And yeah, we're definitely in a car right there. You can see the shadows and everything on my face. So yeah, let us know what you think and leave some comments. And we'll see you guys next time. And if you would like to, or if you would like for us to talk about something, you can put that in the comments as well.
Yeah, if you guys have a topic that you want us to touch on or want us to do a full episode on, please, by all means, throw it towards us. And, you know, we're always kind of throwing ideas back and forth, and even just asking other friends, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
And soon we are going to have guests as well, so that is definitely something to look forward
which
to.
is kind of funny. You'd asked a couple friends what we should do the next episode on. One of them had suggested this, and then
Synchronicities of the universe made that happen.
Yeah, this actually came to fruition because of an event that happened in your life today.
Yes. Yep. Current events.
Yes, this is current events class, y'all.
And we are signing off until next time. I'm Colton.
I'm Matthew.
And this was Grit and Grace. We hope y'all enjoyed it.
Appreciate you.